I sincerely cannot wrap my head around Maple MAGA. Listen, I like/love America as much as the next guy, and I like/love my southern neighbors, well, most of them anyway. But let's be really clear about something. I have absolutely no interest in joining forces to become American, and that's not because I think deep-fried racism and misogyny decided the last election, that they're just not progressive enough and that their patriot culture is out of control. In fact, when I was a kid who traveled there a lot, I was often enamored by the place, by the people. All the stars and stripes everywhere. At the time, that sort of patriotism for country was something I actually envied, as it wasn't so apparent in my home country of Canada, or at least that's what I thought as an observant yet naive young girl. But over the decades, I've come to realize that we Canadians just have a more subtle way of expressing our patriotism, but that our subtle patriotism is one of our best virtues and qualities. Whether it's hanging a flag, waving a flag, honking and waving at the guy with the F. Trudeau bumper sticker, thanking our bus and cab drivers, insisting others go first, or apologizing for being in another's way, buying the guy behind us a coffee, or better yet, a 10-pack of Timbit, bonding and fighting over the Leafs, Oilers, and Habs, wearing our poppies and devoting a portion of our busiest highway to our fallen heroes, the sentiment is there. That is our patriotism. It is something we do, and it is something we share. We take pride in our patriotism, and our patriotism is courteousness. It is the unspoken rules of courtesy and nobility. 2 years ago, when the snow in my neighborhood was so deep that every car that entered the street was finding themselves stuck, there was a group of us there waiting to bail them out. We came armed with shovels, salt, and doubles. Most of the vehicle owners even let us get in behind the wheel of their vehicles to maneuver out of the problem ourselves. It's more of an expressive action, these little hat tips, rather than direct displays of pride. And it's not to say that generosity, kindness, and trust is non-existent in America, but just that it's embedded in Canadians. It's in Canada's veins. Yes, it is our brand. We are known for being polite, kind, generous, helpful, well-mannered, and even too nice, often referred to as weak by our southern neighbors. But since when was politeness a bad thing? And while strength is surely a desirable and admirable quality, the arrogance that usually accompanies it isn't. And though we certainly have our share of arrogant Canadians, the world generally knows us as friendly and nice, and I don't mind that since it's accurate of me and my personality. Is it not accurate of you and yours? What's wrong with being nice? If the argument is solely weakness, well then I counter it with, don't sleeping lions eventually wake up? Absolutely, our federal government has been a tragic and dreadful nightmare this past decade. I was actually just going to say that few Canadians know that as well as me and my family have suffered tremendously under this leadership, but according to statistics, about 89% of all Canadians know that, so it'd be a moot point. But anyway, let's not pretend as though the US isn't and wasn't as well. For all the memes of Justin Trudeau in blackface or wearing a clown nose, there's just as many of Joe Biden tripping up the stairs and eating his chocolate chip ice cream, and for every clip of JT embarrassing us all, there's just as many of JB doing the same by pretending to be the most powerful man in the world. Yet we all know the truth of the matter. Any right-thinking person knows Trudeau is a fake and hollow weirdo, just as they know Biden is a senile sock puppet, a Manchurian candidate for state controllers operating behind the curtains. The world knows this. They know that man cannot possibly be running anything, let alone his own baths, and yet we all look away. We're so quick to overlook the dire implications of that, how it proves deep-rooted corruption that is ingrained and embedded in the U.S. federal government, in Washington, D.C., in the alphabet agencies, in American history and culture. Everyone looks away and we all act as though that doesn't have far-reaching consequences. Instead, we point and laugh at the WEF ex-drama teacher. I get it, it's low-hanging fruit, and I'm not here to nitpick and do the back and forth, I am, no you are, but rather just to say that Justin Trudeau does not represent Canada nor Canadians, just as Joe Biden does not represent America nor Americans. I mean, that's the general idea, but him tripping up the stairs doesn't prove Americans clumsy, but rather his gaffes actually inspired and created better and more courageous patriots. Why can't the same be true of us? Because Justin Trudeau is not the brand or poster of Canadianism. He is not us, and we are not him. We know this. We are so much more than girly socks and pretty smiles, and not nearly the bastion or beacon of far-left culture they portray us in the media. We are so much more than mooses, gooses, maples, and syrup, but even if that were all, that would be enough. Does anyone remember the Molson commercials from years back? The theatrical and comedic montages of all the things that made us great? And do you remember how we felt whenever we saw those commercials? It was like an insider's club, and to run around yelling, I am I'm Canadian, signified you're badass. Absent the commercials, though, was that we've also a beautiful landscape, the most beautifulest ever, and the most magnificent night sky you will ever see. We've got hockey and beer, Timmy's and Caesars, beavers, beaver tails, and polar bears. We've got prairies and mountains, whales, lobsters, the best scallops in the world, poutine, Nanaimo bars, and ketchup chips. Plus, a smorgasbord of natural resources like oil, iron, cobalt, diamonds, and much, much, much more. And East Coast, West Coast, and North Coast. Boom! We even have the better Niagara Falls. We're hardworking, peaceful, and orderly people. We're brave, we're courageous, and we're dutiful. We're clean and considerate, so much so that we're recognizable even in foreign countries. It's just that there's this common misconception that Canada is like full-on woke culture. But I'd say take a look around. With the exception of Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, like where? Drive 30 minutes, 10 minutes outside any city, and you will find conventional living, conservative culture. You will still find blonde, brunette, and black hair rather than pink, green, and rainbow hair. And you'll find courteous shop owners and Khalistan farmers. Now, drive 6 hours north to the least populated landmass in Canada, and you will find a time machine. An environment reminiscent of the good old days where the men still hold doors for women, the women still bake pies, and where both still open their doors to strangers, probably to eat those pies. Granted, we aren't perfect, and we do have flaws. Wow, shocker. Namely, that we don't prioritize personal freedoms. Well, outside abortion and gay marriage, of course. A product of our private and polite lifestyles. Our general niceness oftentimes equates to don't rock the boat, which does lead to apathy and or acquiescence, a totally legitimate criticism with which I wholeheartedly agree. But what does it say about those of you who grew up loving your Timmy's and oil and who know the value and importance of your history and freedoms, but who just as soon give it all up for what? Stars and stripes plus rainbows? Eagles plus rattlesnakes? Red hair plus blue hair? Like, let's not pretend like Toronto and Vancouver are worse than Austin, Texas. Or what? You want to sacrifice what health and education we do have? You want to be less educated and fatter and related to California? Like, what the heck is this? If I didn't know better, I'd say you just want to ride the coattails of others. But my question is, when did all you patriots lose your sense of national pride, that heart and fight in you? And what does it say about you that you'd rather beg for rescue than stay and fight for yourself, for your country, for your family, for your future? For all the talk of our grandfathers who fought and bled for our country, where's your fight and blood? Why would America even want you? And are you not the very people with whom you're fed up and enthusiastic to escape? The cowards who allow their homes to deteriorate? Those aren't the Canucks I grew up with. I get that you feel defeated and deflated. Trust me, I do too. But let's not give way to these fabrications of a cultural takeover by Trudeau and his liberal ilk, or like we need saving by a nation who's in just as deep, if not worse. The Trudeaus of Canada don't change our past, present, and future. They aren't even the majority, but rather the true fringe minority with unacceptable beliefs. And the guy's hanging his hat anyway, so why the kowtow? You should be jumping for joy right now. You should be inspired and motivated and recharged. Now should be the moment you double down, not duck and roll. However, if the thought of driving an F-150 with a MAGA flag ripping in the wind, or replacing your F Trudeau one with an FJB one, the thought of adopting a culture and history that isn't yours gets you hard, then do that. Go do that. Down there. But please stop feeding into this maple MAGA nonsense. Stop degrading and depreciating yourself. And me. I get that you play around with it as you believe your life and the country needs a Donald Trump like yesterday. And probably that's true. But what happens when another Joe Biden gets in? Or worse, a Hillary Clinton? What then? Again, to America, I love you guys. No hard feelings, okay? I talk to you on a regular basis, and I have since way back in the good old days of Yahoo Chat and AOL. Many of you, especially those I talk to, are sincerely great people. You're intelligent, creative, you're kind, and you're absolute rock star patriots with whom I know I would be friends in real life. And I am sincerely, genuinely, authentically happy for you that you got Trump back. I wanted that for you. My bucket list still includes road trips through the Southwest, canoe trips in Idaho, and a scenic drive through the Eastern Forest. Maybe Disney World, not land, sometime with the kids. I will continue to converse with y'all until someone literally cuts the internet, and I will always envy your constitution. But that's about where it stops for me, because I have absolutely no interest in being American. In fact, I could never be American. I finish my sentences with A. I say about, not about. I spell color, honor, and favorite with a U. I can proudly sew my country's flag on my backpack. I believe that a toque is a hat, that Canuck is a term of endearment, and that a Chesterfield is a couch. I still quote Trailer Park Boys. I drink my milk from a bag. I have a stack of CT money. I yell car when playing street hockey, and I love the Tragically Hip. I know that Canada is the second largest country in the world, that it's not an igloo, but does share a border with Alaska, that it was the first nation of hockey and is the greatest white north there ever was. I am Canadian, but more than that, I am proud to be Canadian. Canada and all of its mooses and maples is in my DNA. It's in my heart and blood. It's my childhood, my family, my memories. It's my kids. It's in my husband and his family. It's our memories. It's part of our marriage and is literally in our home and on my keychain. That flag is my flag. That leaf is my leaf. And while I may not love everything about my country, I sure as heck recognize the strengths and qualities we do have, and will forever and always call Canada my home, proudly. But that flag is your flag too, by the way, and that leaf is your leaf as well. So get up and take it back. Pick up your bootstraps and help make Canada great again. Be the change you hope for. Let this tragedy strengthen you and make you a fighter rather than a victim. But please, for the love of God, cut it with the maple MAGA. How about we just McSafa, make Canada strong and free again? I mean, we're already one step closer, eh?